About an hour ago, I was on the telephone with Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel. It was a somber conversation. We were talking about the recent disclosure, the most recent disclosure yesterday, of sexual assault in the military. The Secretary said he was beside himself with the knowledge that this continues, and he was going to do something about it, and I trust that he will. Last night, we learned of the latest, most reprehensible incident. The Army is investigating a sexual assault prevention and response coordinator at Fort Hood, Texas, for being engaged in abusive sexual contact and other alleged crimes. Secretary Hagel has directed a rescreening and retraining of all sexual assault prevention coordinators and military recruiters. I know he's upset about this. I could hear it in his voice. I join him in that response. He understands this is a pervasive crisis that threatens the moral underpinnings of our military. At risk are core values of trust, discipline, and respect that every one of our service members expect and deserve to protect each other and ultimately to protect America. Next Wednesday, the Army will appear before my Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. We'll be asking some hard questions. What has gone wrong here? Why are so many men and women charged with stopping sexual assault being found guilty of it themselves? This is a serious issue. According to the Pentagon survey, there were 26,000 sexual assaults in the U.S. military last year. 26,000. That's a 35% increase over 2010. That's more than 70 service women and men sexually assaulted every single day in our military. Unacceptable. We also know that only a fraction of those incidents are reported. Fewer than 3,400 incidents a year, in fact. And in nearly 800 of those instances, the victim seeks help but declines to file a formal complaint. I commend every one of those men and women who have the courage to come forward and name their accused. It's an unimaginably tough thing to do, but it's the right thing for them and it's the right thing for our military. Nevertheless, we have very far to go before we can say with confidence the system is working to prevent these incidents, protect the victims, and prosecute the perpetrators. For instance, last month, a U.S. commanding general based in Italy overturned a military jury's conviction of an officer charged with aggravated sexual assault. Overturned it. That sent a chill through the ranks, increasing fear among victims that when they had the courage to step forward, ultimately nothing would happen. I appreciated Secretary Hagel immediately called for a change in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I know that Senator Carl Levin, Senator Jim Inhofe, and the Armed Services Committee is working to act swiftly on those recommended reforms. They have my full support. Let me also commend some of my colleagues who have really stepped up on this issue. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, a member of the Armed Services Committee, has shown real leadership. Senator Patty Murray, Chairman of the Budget Committee, Senator Kelly Ayotte, they came together to introduce a bill that I support, S-871, the Combating Military Sexual Assault Act. I also want to commend Senator Claire McCaskill, who's been outspoken in the Armed Services Committee on this issue. The bill that I'm talking about would provide victims with a special victims counsel to assist them through the process. It would strengthen the military prosecution system and ensure that the Guard and Reserve have response coordinators available at all times, regardless of their duty status. We also have to ensure that each service has a robust investigative team with real expertise when it comes to sexual assault. These are just some of the many reforms the Pentagon must work on with Congress to make a difference. I'm committed to working with Secretary Hagel and the entire Pentagon leadership to ensure that every service member can serve safely, free from incidents of violence and the trauma like the one that was reported this week. I urge all of my colleagues to support these reforms for our service members.